Although I focus on scientists who are in some sense believers, many scientists, of course, reject the whole project of God, most by utter indifference, some by aggressive repudiation. I visit NYU neuroscientist Rudolfo Llinas. How does he reject God? Rudolfo, speaking as a scientist, how do you view the capacity of science to even be discussing things about God?
Okay, so as a scientist, I use scientific method to think. Scientific method requires a well-known set of steps that you should have a hypothesis that you can test. If you don't have hypothesis, or you have hypotheses that are not in principle testable, this then becomes a bit of a problem. If you consider a situation where by definition scientific method cannot be utilized, then I have to say from a scientific point of view is not a question that I can understand from a point of view of a cognitive function of the brain, in the sense that the cognitive function of the brain, in order to be able to understand, it requires to be able to understand the origin. You have to have a historical event that has to do with causality, A causes B causes. So you have to be able to trace it back to something.
So if you cannot, as a scientist, have a traceable causal continuity, or you cannot apply the scientific method, does that mean, A, that I just can't discuss the question, or then by definition it doesn't exist? I mean, we can exclude it from reality. Big difference.
Absolutely, a huge difference. So the way I address it is slightly different. The way I address it is, what is the probability? If I go there, I have no problem. I simply say, listen, the probability is so extraordinarily low that while not being able to discard it, I find it so unlikely as to I don't have to worry about it. And it's a serious answer, although it sounds like I'm copying out. That's simply not the case.
Okay, I would accept that. Now let's find out why you assign God, as a scientist, a very low probability, because either it is applicable and discernible, some things, with the scientific method, or not.
Because its total inability, the total inability that God has to implement anything, to be in any form discernible. I have no measure possible. And I know that even those who believe in God deeply know that there is no possible way. So, since there is
no possible way for
of discerning its existence,
of proving his existence.
No, measure something that tells me that God exists. Anything.
So, are we saying that discernment is the same thing as measurement?
Yes, indeed.
If you cannot measure, you cannot discern.
Absolutely. I'm a logical positivist. I require to be able to have a hypothesis that is testable. This is a hypothesis that is not testable. Does that imply that it doesn't exist? No, but it implies it has a very low probability. Yeah.